Hi, it's Mark from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with John Neuenberg of W5 Business Coaching in Vancouver, BC. He's one of North America's premier business coaches. How are you doing today, John?
Doing awesome. Thanks very much.
So we're going to talk about company culture. What makes for a great company culture?
Yeah, that's come up for me with some of my clients this past week, and I thought we'd use our time together today to talk about it. So, often business owners think that culture is just something that gets, on the side of the desk or something, or it's kind of some airy-fairy kind of stuff. And when I hear business owners say that, I'm reminded of Lou Gerstner, who was the guy who took over IBM. He was the chairman of IBM as it was making that difficult transition from a time when they were primarily in the business of selling mainframe computers to when they became a consulting company, IT consulting. And he's famous for this saying where he said, when I first started at IBM and making the change, I thought culture was one of the things that was important. But as I worked there, I came to understand that culture was the most important thing. And so while many people think it's just something you get to or you don't pay that much attention to, it's really a foundation or building block for your company. If you don't have a good company culture, then nothing else can succeed. And all the great organizations in the world, all the great sports teams, you think about the Navy SEALs, you think about the Marines, they succeed in part because they have a fantastic culture that everyone buys into. So if you accept my premise that culture is a building block, a foundation of having a great company, then what makes a great culture? And that's what I want to talk about. What are the 6 drivers of a great company culture? So 6 drivers. So number 1 is strong leadership. And that means you, the owner. And it also means leadership amongst the team. So leadership isn't just about the guy at the top of the food chain or the guy at the top of the organizational chart. It means that throughout the organization, there are strong leaders all pulling in the same direction, and that there's a strong leadership skills, communication skills, and delegation skills happening in the company. So we're going to do the real short version of this. Number 2 is that everyone has common goals. So when they talk about strategic planning, it really boils down to 1% vision and 99% alignment. If you can't get everybody on the same page, you're going to be a little bit like, those Inuit dog sled teams where every one of the dogs is on a different lead, on a different tracer, and they're going to all go off in different directions if that's what they want. And of course, that's not going to work out very well. And then, so that's number 2. Number 3 is where there are well-known rules of the game. So let me give you a hypothetical. We're here in Canada. How about if you had someone who had strong stick handling skills, strong skating skills, could shoot a puck like the wind, but we didn't tell them what the rules of hockey were? Could that person play hockey well? Of course not. So you can have a fantastically skilled individual, but if they don't have a common set of rules or how we're going to do things or how we're going to treat each other, or how we're going to treat our customers, it's not going to work. And then number 4 has to have an action plan so that everyone knows what they're doing and how it ties together to the action plan for the overall company. So that's number 4. Number 5 is to support risk-taking. And what that means is that it's okay to make a mistake, that no one has to live in fear that they're going to, get chopped or have something nasty happen to them because they make a mistake. Now, I'm not promoting an atmosphere where everyone makes errors all the time, but I'm promoting an atmosphere where it's okay to try, to test, to experiment, and that failure is seen as just one more step in an inevitable path towards success. Number 5. And then number 6 is 100% involvement and inclusion. Now, that might sound like the same thing, but let me make the distinction that everyone's involved, which means the leadership makes sure everyone's involved, and everyone's included, which means every individual is included in the process. So there's some responsibility for the team to make sure everyone's involved, and there's some responsibility on the individual to step up and be part of the team. So it works both ways. So you can create a culture. It isn't, some people think that I only get the culture is kind of a byproduct, but in fact you can design a culture and go after it in a proactive and aggressive way and get the culture you want rather than, you know, the culture that you deserve because it's just a kind of a thing that you do on the side of your desk. So those are the 6 drivers of a great company culture, number 1. Number 2, culture is the cornerstone of great successful teams. And if you don't have great culture, you can't have a great team. So that's my thought for the day.
So would, as an example of companies that have used this beyond IBM, what about Zappos, say? I know that's one I've heard you talk about before.
Yeah, Zappos has very much known for having a great company culture. It's in a bit of a transition as they go to a different management structure. But to give you a little bit of a story about how important it is, they have 8 values, their family values they're called. And the story I want to tell you is that even today, when they hire someone and they make a great effort to, you know, do the recruiting and the orientation and the interview process, but they still have this practice where you're the leader of the department. In the early days, it was Tony Hsieh, the founder, would come up to you and place $2,000 cash on your desk and say to you, hey, look at, if you love this company and want to make that part of your career and your future going forward, we'd love for you to stay. But if you don't feel this culture is right for you, here's $2,000 to make it possible for you to transition from what you're doing here today to getting a different job, doing something else. So that's how much emphasis, how much value they placed in making sure that everyone subscribed to the culture. Another example of Apple has a, you know, all of the great companies have a well-defined culture.
So if you need some help with company culture, this is a guy to call. He understands it in and out. I threw him a curve and he handled it just fine, smacked it out of the park. John Nieuwenberg, W5 Coaching. Check him out at w5coaching.com. Tons of information on his website, or give him an email, john@w5coaching.com. Thanks, John.
My pleasure. Thank you.